to this episode of Window Treatment Friday Live. This is a window treatment series that we started about 2.5, 3 years ago, where we go live here on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and take apart a window treatment topic. We discuss all sorts of angles to it and we take it apart, we put it back together, all with the idea of giving you more inspiration, education on all things window treatments. This series is designed specifically for interior designers and window treatment pros if you want to elevate your game in the window treatment world. My name is Vida Wygowska. I am the owner of Vitalia Inc. Window Treatments for Interior Designers. We're located in the Philadelphia area, and we are a one-stop shop, a go-to resource exclusively for luxury interior designers ready to fly first class in the world of window treatments. And usually I am joined here by my friend and colleague from WindowWorks, New Jersey. But Kim is on maternity leave, so I brought another guest with me here today. This is Lenny Burkhart, and he is our Chief Creative Officer, aka Installer. Hi, Lenny. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
So no need to worry. No need to be nervous. We're just live in front of a couple of people. Not a big deal. But the idea is that we will explain some of the installation woes to you today. The topic today is installs lately. All of these installs have been done by Lenny, and all the jobs that we at Vitalia Inc. have either specified or worked closely with interior designers to do. And we just want to share what it's like to be out there in the field, what to watch out for, some of our wins, some of our losses. And I'm just really excited to have you here to lend your expertise.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
You ready?
I'm nervous, a little excited. Let's go.
All good, all good. All right, so you guys are going to toggle over to our presentation. We're going to get reduced down to the bottom of the screen. Still don't see us on Instagram. All right, let us talk about this particular project. So what an awesome picture. By the way, you guys, I have to tell you that Lenny is the one who takes all of these photos in addition to being super awesome and mechanically inclined and being able to install anything anywhere into any kind of small pocket or big expanse. No matter how big or small, he's able to do this for us. But another amazing thing that we absolutely love and enjoy and appreciate about you, Lenny, is that you come back with these awesome pictures. So talk to me about this one. Where was this taken? What was the project like? I see that there's the view of the city. So was this in Philadelphia, I suppose?
Yeah, Center City, Philadelphia. This one, the only real challenge was finding parking, getting in there. Once I got up and in, past the doorman, up into the apartment, it was pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to me about this pocket. So is it a ripple fold drape or
yeah,
was
it's
it
a ripple fold.
Okay.
It was a replacement, so the track was already up there.
Okay.
We had it measured to perfection. I just had to go in there, put it up, and make it look nice.
I think you're being very modest. So Lenny does a lot more than just goes there and puts it up. You know, it's more in anyone in the window treatment world knows that the worst few words in the vocabulary is, well, can't you just throw up a couple of brackets? Can't you just throw up a drape? Nope. It's never can't you just. Anything is a project and it takes time and knowledge and energy. So let's not sell ourselves short. So it's a ripple fold drape. Talk to me about where the track was positioned. How deep was the pocket? What did you have to do there?
This pocket was probably about 8 inches deep.
Okay. And was it a single track or was there 2 tracks inside?
Single track.
Okay.
Just went up, put it in there. It was kind of tricky. You have to kind of get the wrist going to get up inside the pocket and get the
Yes.
snaps just right. And you
That's
have the
right.
weight of the drapes. Which these
So
ones
the
were
weight of the
pretty
drape
light.
is on your shoulder.
It's typically on the shoulder, sometimes
Or
on my arm. So when my arm's up, it's just kind of hanging on there. And
So in other words, if I were to be
Takes it.
installing, I wouldn't have to go to the gym and lift weights. Like,
no,
this
this
is the way to do it.
Yeah. Go to the gym for leg day. Your arms and shoulders will be fine.
Well, and also quads, right? Like going up and
Yeah,
down the
up and
ladder
down the
all
ladder.
the time. That's
Yeah, well, I try to have everything with me, so
Uh-huh.
my trips up and down the ladder are minimal. It doesn't
make
always
as
work.
efficient as possible.
Doesn't
So
always work that way, but I try to minimize those trips. That'll save you some time.
and so you said that the pocket itself was about 8 inches. So I want to point out that that is really important. If you guys are an interior designer specifying the pocket, or if you are a window treatment professional who is being asked for feedback on specifying the pocket, the minimum that you want to do for a single layer drape is 5 inches. If you can get away with 7 to 8 inches, that is ideal. As Lenny just told you, it's really difficult to get inside the pocket to get all either the hooks in if it's pleated or get all the snaps inside. And for the hand to be able to get kind of maneuver in and out of that pocket, you need space, right?
Yes, you need some space and you have to be malleable.
Malleable, that's a good
say.
word. Another reason that you want to have enough space there in the pocket, especially for the ripple fold drape, is because when essentially what the ripple fold drape is, it is a flat drapery panel. It's a flat piece of fabric. There is a snap tape that is sewn at the top of it with snaps, and those snaps get connected to carriers on the rod. So the formation that it makes is this S curve that kind of flows in and out, back to the front of the room and to the back of the room, to the front of the room and to the back of the room. So you need that pocket space to have enough space for those back and forth folds to be able to breathe and to just even be housed and go back and forth and not get crushed by if the pocket was made too small and you were too close to the wall. So now in this situation, the rod was already installed, so we didn't have to do it. But if you had to do it, any tips for us on how you would have installed the rod?
Like you said, to have enough space for each of the pleats. You don't want to be too close to either the front or back.
Mm-hmm. So would you install it like in the center of the pocket, in the back, in the front?
The center, I suppose, would be ideal. I think if you come closer to the front of the pocket, so you have a smaller gap between those pleats and the front, I think that looks better. If it's kind of towards the back or even in the center, you have a lot of gap there. It just doesn't look as clean. So if I can get the track somewhere to where I have maybe an inch clearance all the way through, I think that would look the best.
Nice.
And that's pretty much what we had here.
That's what we had here.
Nice.
So we have another picture for this. So this is a kind of a living room, family room type situation. And this shows you the entire window and how the drape looks closed on the window. Another beautiful picture, by the way. So talk to me about the length here.
We went out there, got the measurements, fabricated everything in here, and they came out great. With the ripple folds, the buttons are on there. There's really no room for adjustments on the fly. So it has to go up and be right that first time.
Right. So what Lenny is referring to is, unlike the pleated drapes, where you have some leeway where you can install the pin and therefore you can move the drape up or down on the rod. With ripple folds, that snap tape is at the very top of the drape. And when it snaps into the carriers, it is solidly and perfectly in position. There's no way for you to move that up and down. So when the snaps are attached and the installer drops the drapery, what happens?
I hold my breath.
You hold your breath. It's
hold
like
your breath, get down there and take
the worst 5 seconds of any installer's life.
Or the best.
Or the best. That's true. That is. See, this is why we have Lenny here, because he's that positive. That's right. The glass is always half full with him. But essentially, you hold your breath and you're like, please work, please work, please work. And usually it does. Surely sometimes it doesn't. Everybody makes mistakes, but when it does, it's the most beautiful and wonderful thing. So it gets us very excited. Now, another reason that this particular project was a little bit challenging is because you can see that the fabric used was, let me see if I can, yes. So the fabric used here was this open weave kind of netty fabric. And anytime you have open weave, it tends to absorb the moisture in the air. And under the weight of it, that open weave tends to stretch out too. So it is very difficult oftentimes to guarantee the length and know exactly where it will fall. And that's one of the reasons why here at Vitalia Inc. we have a hoist actually. So that's actually a good idea for one of the next episodes to show you how we hang the drape and then we measure the drape, especially with some of these unstable and challenging fabrics. So we can make sure that when we go to these challenging installs in the city, finding the parking, getting through the...
You don't want to go back.
You don't want to go back. You definitely don't. Nobody wants to see us again, and we don't want to go back. So we try to do everything possible here in our shop to make sure that the length is as perfect as we can make it. Any other comments or thoughts about this install?
Maybe the pictures, even if you're not great at taking pictures or don't think you are, try to get really good ones, because that is where I see imperfections more than just my eye looking at them. I'll line up a shot and really take some time to get a really nice picture, and that's when I'll notice that the pleat is kicking out or something's not behaving.
That's a really good idea. It's like camera doesn't lie.
Yeah, it's like a second set of eyes on it.
Yes. That's a great point.
If it's just me out there, I'll take the picture and then I'll usually see a couple things I have to adjust.
Another quick comment that I want to make is that this particular project was done for a wonderful designer who uses us to do his window treatments. His name is Michael Shannon, and the firm that he owns is Michael Shannon Designs. It's a firm located in Philadelphia, and majority of his work is in Center City, Philadelphia, as well as some of the neighboring counties of the city. And I would really love for you to follow him on Instagram, and his handle is @Michael Shannon Designs. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, and he's got great people and designers working for him who we enjoy very, very much. And we've just really enjoyed this relationship with him. So thank you, Michael, very much for the trust that you give us. So a really quick pause here. I just want to give you a resource that I think you would enjoy. This particular resource comes from WindowWorks New Jersey, which is usually the partner of mine, Kim Seraphim, who is the co-owner of WindowWorks, on maternity leave right now, but she wanted to make sure that you have this gift. If you go on their website, windowworksnewjersey.com, and especially if you are new to the window treatment game and want to understand more about it, there's a report that's available to you for immediate download. It's called 10 Things to Know About Custom Window Treatments. Save time, money, and heartache, and download your free guide today. So this is especially good for some of the novices, more of like a window treatment 101, just a really great, nice report for you to sink your teeth in. And from us here at Vitalia Inc., we also have a nice little gift for you. It is a free curated lookbook filled with inspiration and education. We call it 37 and a half window treatment ideas for you to use immediately, swipe, steal, and make your own on your next design project. And you can download your copy at vitaliainc.com. And so let's move on, Lenny, to our next project. So this was an interesting one and a fun one. This particular design firm is called Leader Dirks. They're actually located in Colorado, and they specialize in model homes. So what you're seeing here is a model home. So in case you're like, there's no dirt, there are no dishes, there are no pictures, there are no toys, there's no socks and dogs and, you know, all the things that fill our regular lives and common living areas. It is because this is brand new and meant to sell a home. ultimately to live in a home, but this one is specifically to sell a home. So talk to me about these treatments. What are they? How do you install them? Let's start there.
We just have these valances up at the ceiling. When they go up at the ceiling, it's nice. You're almost certain that you're drilling into wood. So that's
Which
my
is the
favorite
best
part
thing for
about those.
exactly.
So once you hear that drill click and you know you're getting into something solid,
Yes.
it makes your job really easy.
Every installer loves that
Yeah,
kind of
once you feel that
sound.
bite,
Yes.
there was a lot of bite in this picture.
Yeah,
That was
so
nice.
if you are an interior designer and you're in the position to specify what goes behind the wall or into the ceiling where the window treatment will be installed, if you can have that Jussier builder give us some, what is it, 1x3s and 2x4s and
Some headers.
some headers. Yes, exactly. It is just really ensures that the window treatments are installed properly and they will never fall out, that we don't need to use, we can use molly bolts and anchors and all the
Absolutely.
things and butterflies. That's not to say that we can't, and we have and we do all the time.
This takes a little more time.
It takes time, and it is secure, but nothing is that 120% secure as
Yes.
drilling into wood, right?
Right.
Even the smell of it.
Yes. It's cleaner too. There's less dust to
That
clean
is
up on the back end.
Very much so. And when you have these small balances and you drill into wood, that's a nice thing to have. But there's situations where we have big, long, wide drapes, and we install these big, long, wide tracks, and we hang something that is super heavy face fabric, and it could be interlined, it could be blackout lined. And if we can have a header there, right,
Yeah.
to drill into wood there,
That is nice.
that becomes almost a necessity. Whereas it's a nice to have when you have some simple balances like this, it becomes really a necessity when you have a much bigger and heavier window treatment. So talk to me, Lenny, about why we installed these so high.
Model home, you want to see the window, is what I've learned. They want to showcase the views, not the window treatments, however nice they may be. So we put them in at the ceiling. As you can see, the ones in the back in the living room, they're not at the ceiling, but they're kind of maintaining that same level as the one in
They're on
the
the
kitchen
same
to keep
plane.
it nice and consistent.
Yep.
So it turned out nice.
Yep. And we also have another picture from this install. This is just another angle. And check out Lenny's photography. Isn't it beautiful how he was able to grab a little bit of those lilies on the side, and it just makes the whole shot
Makes
come
it a little
to
more
life.
interesting.
Yes,
A little more
exactly.
interesting.
Exactly. Beautiful photography there. So I really want to get to the pictures where we show. So this is the same model, master bedroom. But what I wanted to show you here, guys, is how no matter what kind of treatment you are installing in the model home, it is really important to get those either draperies or balances as much off the window as you possibly can. The whole idea for the builder is to showcase the assets of the home. And the window treatment, not the window treatment, scratch that, the windows and the light is one of the selling points of any home. It is the asset that the potential consumer, the prospect, is looking for. So while the window treatments are important because they add that jewelry to the window, so to speak, we don't want any of our window treatments to encroach on the window so much that they would preclude some of the light going in or prevent the customer from seeing the beauty of the window, which is exactly what we have here, right?
Yep.
And talk to me about the placement of the rod and also the headers here.
Well, with the placement of the rod on this one, it was more the length of the rod to make sure that we could center it on the window because we wanted to go wide to showcase that window. But if we went too wide because of where the rod meets the wall, it wouldn't have been exactly centered. So
because the rod was already pre-cut.
Yeah.
What you're saying, like the window, let's say, was 36, and the rod was, what do we think, 50-ish?
Yeah, maybe about 8 on each side.
So we had 8 inches on each side to clear.
So we just didn't want to go too far to the wall to where we couldn't make it even in the center. So we found that nice middle ground and we got them up. They were pleased.
And what was the width of the stack on those drapes? I want to say about 15 inches or so.
It looks about there. They were, we bunched them at the top. There weren't the pleats in there. They just went through the rod. And
so we want to make sure that, so these are one width of material, and this is a little bit of a technical term. My window treatment pros here would totally understand it. The drapes are not pleated. So what you will oftentimes find in model home merchandising is, even though it looks kind of grand and amazing and new and bright and shiny, there is a very, very tight budget that the designer is working with. And therefore, the budget, that tightness on the above the budget, translates to the window treatments too. So oftentimes you may not see fully pleated drapery panels because we're trying to save a little bit on cost there and be budget conscious. So this particular one had hidden a pocket in the back, or hidden tabs in the back, right?
Yeah,
so how did you make sure that when you squished it at the top, because it would want to like spring out again, how did you make sure that it stayed in place?
I used my hand. I would put my whole hand on there. And the last two fingers would be kind of where I would scrunch to. So I would pull and scrunch those fingers so I'd have the same gaps at each one. And I just kind of push those back and maybe folded them in a little bit so that I would get that pleat, and it would give me something to train all the way down to kind of get it to behave as it would if it were pleated.
So a lot of hand holding,
It's just
a lot of massaging,
a lot of figuring it out, taking some pictures, and when I see the pictures, I'm like, oh, it's not right here. I'll go back with my my stick.
Yeah.
And just kind of get them to.
You know, another technique that we've used in the past was to put double-sided tape on the rod where we want the leading edge of the drape to stop. And so what happens is you put the double-sided tape there and it sticks to the rod, and then you put the drape on top of that tape and it holds it in place. And that really helps it from like springing toward both drapes springing towards each other and encroaching onto the window. So that's another little trick for you guys in case you're ever either installing model homes or you're just in a position where you have a stubborn drape who doesn't want to do what you want it to do. But as you can clearly hear from Lenny, a lot of installations is so much more than can't you just. It's a lot more than throwing up a couple of brackets and throwing up a rod there and being done with it. A lot of it is really massaging the drape and training it, much like a child or much like hair if you're a hair designer or hairdresser. So making sure that you train and have the drape do what you want it to do. And that is still part of the installer's job. So let's see if we have, now that's the next project. So I want to, this was just real quickly to show you, this was another room in that model home done by Leader Dirks. This was an office, I suppose, right? So talk to us a little bit about this. I am not seeing any rods here. So what's happening there?
Yeah, they were just the little stationary rods up the top on each side of the window. And again, everything was measured and made so well that I just had to put a couple screws in and do my massage and make it work. And they came out really nice.
You are very, you don't like to take credit.
No.
So
No.
Lenny did a great job doing this. So I'm going to sing the accolades since you can't do it yourself. The little stationary rods, what do you mean by that? What are those? How can our listeners, how do they know what to look for?
It's basically a little white rod that's as wide as you want the drapes to be, maybe a little less, and just, I don't know, it seems so pretty standard.
So you can get, I mean, it's a very standard white rod, and you're absolutely right. You can actually get those in like a Home Depot or Lowe's or any type of big box store. It's super simple, and the idea for it, the reason it's available everywhere, Amazon most likely, the idea that the reason it's available anywhere and it's so kind of prolific is because there's nothing to it. It's like the cheapest thing out there that is meant to be hidden. It's not meant to be seen, but it's also versatile enough that you can put it up and hide it with the drape. It does its job. It holds the drape if it's installed properly into either an anchor or the wood. Otherwise, it will just totally fall out of the wall. And in this particular case, again, going back to model homes being on the budget, the designer didn't have a budget here for decorative hardware at all. So we had to get creative and do resort to some of our more economical tricks and use it on these drapes.
Yeah, they're very simple. Couple screws, anchors, whatever you got. The track clicks right in. The only maybe piece of advice that isn't obvious is when you're putting your brackets up on the front edge, don't have it right on the end because you'll see it. If you move that bracket in maybe 4 or 5 inches so that the rod is sticking out, the rod will be hidden, the bracket will be hidden, and you'll have a nice
That's
clean look.
that's a really great tip. You do not want to have any of the non-decorative brackets visible. You want to hide them as much as possible. Very nice. All right, let me take another quick pause here and introduce you, in case you don't know what this is, the Well-Designed Business Podcast with Luann Nigara. If you have been living under a rock for the last 7 years, Luann is now on 900 plus episode of her very well established and very famous podcast. It is designed for interior designers, and it is all about the business of interior design. Now, Luann brought me onto this podcast a few years ago for a recurring series that we called then Window Treatment Friday. So the podcast was all about the verbally talking about the business of the window treatment world. And during the pandemic, about 3 years ago, Kim and I decided to bring this concept here into the visual form. And that's how the Window Treatment Friday Live was born, which is exactly what you're watching. And if one podcast wasn't enough, our Miss Luann decided to start a second podcast, and that one is called Window Treatments for Profit. And this one is also all about the business practices, but this one is targeted specifically for the window treatment pros. If you are a workroom, if you are a retailer, if you're a window, a shop at home pro, if you're a retailer, if you're an installer, if you're a vendor supporting the trade, all of these kind of segments, market segments, would really benefit from this amazing podcast. And I am very blessed and honored and humbled to have been asked by Luann to be a recurring guest host on one of the series that we call Vita's Tip in 10. So every Thursday, I appear in your inbox with a new episode of this series, Vita's Tip in 10, where I deliver a short, usually in 10 minutes, a short but oh so mighty tip that hopefully builds your window treatment business and makes it better. So whichever platform you listen to your podcast, whether it's iTunes or any Spotify, any other Spotify does podcasts?
I catch you on Spotify.
Spotify? Oh,
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So whichever platform you listen to your podcast on, please make sure to check out Window Treatments for Profit, and especially Vita's Tip in 10. I would love to get your feedback and hear what you have to say. All right. Our next project is for another wonderful designer here in Philadelphia. We've been blessed to do their projects for the last couple of years. The name of the firm is Meadowbank Design. I would love for you to follow them on Instagram. Their handle is Meadowbank Team. They are owned by a duo, Kirsten and Laura. They also have a great team working for them. And we've been really enjoying this wonderful, fruitful, productive, really great relationship. They're the nicest people to work with. And this was one of our latest projects. So Lenny, talk to us. What did you do here?
I did not do the drapes in this one. I wish I could say that I had, because
The drapes are gorgeous.
The room looks awesome. It was
Yeah, so the drapes
very,
were
very nice.
pre-done. They were
Yes,
pre-us.
They were up. What I put in was this woven wood motorized shade behind them.
Mhm. What is a woven wood? Can you explain it to our listeners?
It's kind of like the fibers of the wood woven as if they were fabrics, I suppose would be my best,
Your best
my best
explanation, yeah.
description of it. Just very, very thin, fine strips of wood woven to
Or grass,
different-
actually, or bamboo.
Bamboo,
So woven woods are
yeah.
really, really popular. I know you've been installing
yeah,
a
they
ton
look
of
great.
them
I
lately.
love them. I like to put them out.
Mhm.
This one was pretty long, motorized, was a little heavy, but nothing too bad.
Now it's all very wide, right? Not only
Yeah,
long,
it's-
but also very wide. How wide was it? Do you remember?
I think it was less than 100, but
Oh my gosh!
but close.
Like, oh, just I don't know, 8 feet. That's all.
Yeah, it was probably about 8 feet, maybe right around that 96.
And
range.
how were you able to install it by yourself?
Just like much of this, you just figure it out.
Yeah. So how'd you figure it out?
I have a paint stick, one of the thicker, bigger ones for like a big 5-gallon bucket. It has a little ruler on it. It's 1/4 inch wide. It's great. I take it with me everywhere.
Lenny's biggest. He's got
My
a full truck
favorite
full
tool.
of all sorts of
Nice tools.
drills and bits and saws and all sorts of things. And his favorite is a stick.
The paint stick is my extra set of hands. Knowing that we have about a 1/4 inch clearance on each side, and this paint stick is a 1/4 inch, I will tape it to the top of the window frame. That way, when I sit I talk with my hands. I'm sorry.
No worries, you're good.
When I sit the shade in its place and I have that stick there, I know that it has a 1/4 inch gap on one side, so I know it's even on both sides. I'll pre-screw a couple screws into the board, not all the way through. The one in the center being my most important. Hold it up in the center. If it's touching the paint stick, it's right on line. Put that screw in. Once that screws in, it's a lot of weight for one screw, so I keep my hands in place till I get to the others. But once I have that set, just a matter of feeling the front to make sure it's lined up nicely with the trim, and that's it.
Zip zip. That's another favorite phrase of Lenny's. He's very modest, and everything is a zip zip. But if I can just add that installing a 100-inch shade that is, I want to say it was probably 60 inches long or so, minimum, I would say. It's heavy. It is black outlined. The woven wood itself is heavy. To do it by yourself as a single person and doing it well takes a lot of skill, takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of strength, and a lot of creativity too. So again, nothing in window treatments, and especially not in installations, is that can't you just. Everything, the easier it looks, the more skill and experience that it takes. So we are thrilled to have you. And every time Lenny does an install, he boxers us back and says, everything's done, all went well. And we're just like, oh, we're able to exhale here in the office. So this was a real tough one. It may look really simple, but to do this by yourself is not easy at all. All right, the next project, and I think this is our last one that I would love to showcase, is a project that we did for another great designer in the Philadelphia area, actually in Bucks County to be exact. The name of this firm is Gasek Design Group. We have been doing their projects for, oh my goodness, good 10 years or so, and I'm very proud of this relationship and really love working with their team. They also do a lot of model homes, actually. This particular one is not model. This was done for a retail customer, and these were drapery panels. This is what kind of they look like from the angle. So there are 2 panels, 2 symmetrical windows, and 2 outer panels on the outer edges of the windows. So that's what it looks like sort of in totality, and this is what it looks like close up. So Lenny, here again, I'm not seeing the rod, I'm not seeing the brackets, I'm seeing the drape is just sort of levitating in air.
Yeah,
What's happening?
It's levitating. It's our specialty. This one, it's mounted on a board. It's board mounted, so the board is running behind behind those pleats, just about up to and maybe a little bit past where the leading edge starts. So it was pretty simple to install. It came mounted. I just had a couple L brackets to put up, screw it into the L brackets, and she sat there, little bit of training, and it turned out really nice.
Again, Lenny is very modest. Nothing is that simple. Lenny's going to be on one side saying everything's simple. I'm going to be on the other side saying everything's complicated. The truth is somewhere in the middle, as all things are. But, truth be told, again, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know what kind of L brackets. You have to know how here in the shop, we knew exactly how to mount this drape so that the board wouldn't be showing. Yes, we wanted it to have the look of kind of levitating. The customer did not want to have any sort of decorative hardware here. And we decided, instead of going with that more economical approach that I told you about a few minutes ago with the model home, here we went with a little bit more custom and a little bit more sort of like definitive. This will never fall out. This will never break. This will, if a kid decides to pull on it, nothing will ever happen to it. So that's what we mounted on the board. And the board is in the back of the drape. You really don't see it here. And the idea was to just make everything very concealed and very clean and have the drape be the hero. And especially this trim that you're seeing on the leading edge, that is truly the hero of this whole thing. So we didn't pick it. It was all Gasek Design Group. They picked the fabric. They picked the trim. We did work together on the style and how to board mount. The pleat is actually their pleat. The owner of the firm, Richard Gasek, he came up with this pleat. It's a really long pleat. We call it the Gasek pleat. And it's really great when you want to have those elongated folds at the top and to have the drape fall really nicely and evenly all the way to the bottom. So that's what it looked like. We have one more. So here you can really see the pleat. So tell me, Lenny, where do you think the board stops? You were, I think,
about that center here. Line, maybe a little bit back of it, but it definitely comes onto that trim to kind of keep it going
straight
where it needs to.
Because it's so where the trim is, that part of the drape is called the overlap, and the trim was good. I want to say 3.5 to 4 inches. So if you don't put anything behind the overlap, it's going to be very flappy and may even like droop down. So you definitely either, if you're using the decorative hardware, you want to put a ring on the long overlap like that. If you're not using decorative hardware and installing it on the board like this, then you want to make sure that the board extends all the way out to where the overlap is. Maybe not all the way to the very end because you don't want to see the board necessarily, but definitely to some part of it, so to support the overlap, to add structure to it. Exactly. So that is the project for Gasek Design Group. We're recently installed and very proud of it. All right, you guys. So this concludes our episode number. You know what? I think it was 120. Oh my gosh, I think we're like on 130 something or
number one for me.
It's a number one. I see it. Number 32, 132. This was episode number 132 of Window Treatment Friday Live. If you have just joined us and are wondering what the heck is this, Window Treatment Friday Live is a series that was started by WindowWorks New Jersey and my co-host Kim Seraphim, who is currently on maternity leave, and yours truly, to give you guys some education and inspiration on all things window treatments. And so for the last 131 episodes, we have done topics like pleats and headers and linings and drapery hooks and challenging windows and installations lately like we're doing today, awnings, because WindowWorks also does awnings, different balances, different types of hard treatments. So any topic that you can think of, we pick it apart, we put it back together. In the process, we are hoping that we're providing you with some education and inspiration so that you can walk away in the know, so you don't have to make the same mistakes that we have made in the process, and you can be more knowledgeable and just a little bit more inspired. So I want you to join us here every Friday, okay? Because that's where we hang out. Instagram, Facebook, usually LinkedIn, and YouTube. So in conclusion of this episode, I want to give you the contact information for WindowWorks. If you are in the New York metro area, WindowWorks New Jersey is your go-to resource for all things window treatments and awnings. Here's their phone number. You can email them and definitely follow them on Instagram at WindowWorks. And if you are in the Philadelphia area, then please consider us, because we are a one-stop shop, a go-to resource, a white glove service, concierge level service exclusively for luxury interior designers ready to fly first class in the world of window treatments. We fabricate, we install, we measure, we project manage, we take responsibility for everything that we do, all with the goal of making our designers look like heroes at the end of the project. So please follow us on Instagram at the very least at Vitalia_Inc. I would love for you to grab our free report on our website. And if you have a project that you're thinking of and want to contact us, we would love to be your support trade on window treatments. So this is it for us. Lenny, how was it for you?
That was great.
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
Sure.
Will you come join me again sometime?
Whenever I'm asked.
Lenny is very, what's the word? Everything's easy. Everything's,
we're good. It is what
we're
you make
good.
it.
Chill.
Everything is what you
Lenny's
make
very
it.
chill. We love having him around. We've so enjoyed having you here, seriously, and so appreciate all the work that you do for us. And you make us look like heroes so that we can make designers look like heroes.
You guys
So
make
it
me
all
look good.
stops with Lenny, essentially. You're like the last line of defense, the last line of command. You're everything. Your boots on the
Boots
ground.
on the ground.
You
Well,
make
socks on the ground.
socks.
I always take
That's
my
right.
shoes off.
That's right. Socks. That's a good. I like that. Or booties. You know,
Yeah,
those little.
booties on the ground.
Yeah. All right, guys. This concludes our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Come join us here every Friday morning at 9 a.m. For next episode of Window Treatment Friday Live. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.